guys know I talk about CERN a lot, maybe too much. Some people say I talk about it all the time. Well, I think it's a pretty important, pretty fascinating, and terrifying machine that I've been ranting and raving about for many, many years. So today's going to be a very interesting episode for those who do like hearing me talk about CERN. I'm your host, Shane Cashman. Welcome back to Inverted World Live. I'm joined by Alex. What's up?
How's it going, Shane? I'm happy to be here for your favorite topic.
I'm so excited to talk about this. We have someone, a really special guest today who can talk deeply on CERN. And let's just get right to it. Let's introduce Dr. Astrid Stuckelberger. Hey there, how are you?
Nice. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited to talk about this subject. Maybe you know more than me, Shane. So thanks. Nice to see you.
Thank you. Yeah, well, thank you so much for being here. If for those who don't know your work, can you give us a little rundown of what you do?
Yeah. Yes. Well, I'm a scientist. That's my whole life, because when you're a researcher, you're always a researcher. So you can understand that. And I'm a curious researcher. So I have been, studying a lot on parascience even before I was a scientist, even on the relativity of time of Einstein. Even if I didn't understand, I wanted to understand the concept. And I'm very curious of what is life and why we are here, etc. So I think anybody going into this questioning, it cannot just stay in one topic. So my whole life, I have, I'm overtitled, I would say. I have a Master of Science, a PhD. In genetic psychology, which was actually epidemiology of the population health and on subjective versus objective health. So I was already interested in the perception versus objectivity. And then I did, because I was at the Faculty of Medicine doing a lot of, a Swiss Research National Foundation direction of program of research. And I did then to climb up the ladder. I did a privatdocent, which is the professor work of another PhD. Wow. So I have more than 12 books, 5 waiting, but I'm so censored that I don't even think about, publishing, but they're ready, English and French. And I've worked, and that's where it gets interesting for many people, in the international organization extensively. At the WHO on international health regulation for 4 years almost. So when this happened, I was like, I was so shocked to see that nothing we had been teaching with WHO was applied. So, and on the research ethics, so ethics is also for me one of the angles and one of the cursor of validation of anything we do. And that's why what we're seeing, our whole deception of this world is crazy too. So, I mean, my CV is, I have a website, but I can prove everything I have. I want to say this, I have no conflict of interest. It's important because Reuters is trying to say that I never worked for WHO. I mean, I have had contracts, over what I'm even saying twice for the United Nations programs and for organizing UN Open Days. And so I know many, many agencies in the UN, and I've always questioned a lot of this. That's what brings me to question also CERN.
Yeah.
And also the International Energy Atomic Agency, which is related.
Do you think questioning these institutions is why you feel like you've been censored? Is that why you've been pushed out?
Well, I started to be censored. I wrote an article, scientific article in 2020, April, May, that I had a lot of doubts on the application of the WHO International Health Regulation, and that there was a lot of contradictions at that point. And I was on the radio to question the PCR test very heavily with the head of lab of the Geneva University Hospital. And I won the battle, if you want, on the radio. And after that, and after the film Hold Up of a French film, Pierre Barnerias, then we all got censored from that film. From that started. I think for everybody there was like a wave in the autumn of 2020. It's like they said, now the plan is to censor. Yeah. And they went on censoring. They took off all my lectures in different universities. And I even was teaching American study abroad courses. And I was explaining how you manage emergency and how it's not applied. And Vanderbilt University got a complaint from the parents of a student because I was questioning the ethics of the pandemic, and I was censored by Vanderbilt University, which is in America. I think it's a military.
Of course.
From what I've researched, it's very military. So you can see that it was global. This whole thing from the beginning has been global, and it took a while to people to find that out. And I was saying that a lot. It's global, but otherwise, I'm actually surprised that nobody from the United Nations is coming up to me to say anything to me.
I'm not surprised.
It's silent. I even went to the UN one day for a meeting, and
I feel like that's how they operate. You know, when lockdowns happened and all of a sudden science became a cult, you know, a lot of scientists all of a sudden believed everything. It was like there was no objective versus subjective debate anymore. It was this and nothing else. And I was saying, you know, sort of tongue in cheek, but I meant it, that experts and scientists were some of the first casualties to lockdowns, you know, to COVID, because the brains flew out of their skulls and nothing made sense anymore. And you talk about objectivity versus subjectivity. I thought that debate is so important to how we perceive reality. You know, what is based on your perception, what is based on your feelings, and what is hard evidence, you know? And the idea of hard evidence just seems to have evaporated. Largely so, at least on the outside, you know, non-scientists, but it seems like you're pushing up against that as well in your field.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because the first thing that shocked me, I was in Korea for an international meeting, and I saw, you know, it was in end of January, and I saw people coming in with the mask. And in Korea, I mean, they're, of course, like in China, they're very bacteriophobic.
Right.
And so they had all those machines and lasers and stuff to put temperature. And I thought, temperature is a very good indicator that we actually never saw after that.
Right.
So that was already. But when I was in the airport of Seoul coming back, I heard in the airport in Seoul the same message of fear mongering than in Germany, in Frankfurt, in English. And I thought, this is not normal. Yeah. You see, because in the WHO, in public health and in the international health regulation, the number first is not to create panic. So you don't create panic in the population by saying to people, we don't know, we are looking, and you can never know. I mean, in epidemic outbreaks, especially when a virus mutates, if it is not a virus, but anyway, let's take the hypothesis of a mutating virus that is going all over the world. You cannot say with certainty that it is that because it mutates. And I was like, what are they doing? They should be. We were teaching, you know, with CNN anchors, Christina Fade, which was great. We were simulating an outbreak announcement for countries, and every country had to organize, and she was correcting them. And the first thing was, you have to be very nice with your public, and you have to really reassure them. Accept to say that you don't know, because this is reassuring. In a way, it's better to say we are looking for the real cause that we don't know. We see a little outbreak in China. We saw there was one here, but for the moment, that's the preventive measures we're going to give to you. And nothing of that never was applied. That for me was a shock. I said, what the heck are they doing? For me, it was already a rollout of a dictatorship of fear.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. The fear was the virus, right? The fear infected everyone. And you can look throughout history of waves of hysteria attacking small communities. You know, there's all those strange stories about laughing fits, dancing fits, people dancing themselves to death. You know, the fear, you can see it just jump from person to person. That was the pandemic, in my opinion. It was fear-based. And it seemed, from my point of view, it seemed like that was the point, you know, to get people to rally around fear. Because when they know what you fear, it's a lot easier to control a population.
Right. And it's in all the Hollywood films.
Exactly.
You know, the outbreak is, don't scare them, please. I saw a Rookie series. It's very good, actually. But there's one on epidemic in Los Angeles. And they say, please don't tell anybody, don't create fear.
Right.
And they did exactly the opposite, you know.